My son remarked, "You look more beautiful than any girl my age." His actions left me utterly speechless. I never imagined that this could occur in my life. Avoid making the same errors I did. As we embark on this journey, our curiosity is piqued. From which city are you observing? We invite you to share your thoughts on this story in the comments section below. As I was folding laundry, Luke entered the room that afternoon. Disheveled hair, gym bags casually draped over one shoulder, tank top adhering to him in the warmth. He offered me that charming, youthful smile that never failed to bring joy to my face. "Hello, Mom. You look wonderful today," he remarked, effortlessly placing his bag by the entrance. "Flattery won't absolve you from your chores," I responded, a chuckle escaping as I folded a pair of his socks. "No, seriously," he persisted, approaching with a gaze that lingered for a moment. "You appear more stunning than any young woman in my age group." His words, delivered with such directness and sincerity, caused my heart to flutter. I was uncertain about how to respond. I naturally dismissed it with a laugh. What additional options are available to me? I brandished a towel at him, caught between choking and deflecting. "Be cautious, sir. Your mother might be quite shocked by remarks like those." Yet, an intangible change lingered in the atmosphere, something nuanced, neither dangerous nor wrong, yet certainly unexpected. That evening, I reflected on his words. I gazed at my reflection in the mirror while preparing for bed. My hair remains thick, yet it reveals its maturity with strands of gray. Soft lines grace the corners of my eyes. My physique, motherhood has undoubtedly influenced it, yet I maintained a sense of confidence in it. I had moved beyond my youth, yet I did not perceive myself as old. In some way, Luke had perceived that. Perhaps it was due to the recent changes in the dynamics of our relationship. Since his return home after college, our household has embraced a more subdued cadence. We shared more evenings together, engaging in conversation over dinner, enjoying classic films on the couch, and occasionally laughing about the simplest things. We engaged in conversation, engaged in a meaningful conversation. That evening, as I draped a blanket over myself and lay gazing at the ceiling, I reflected on all the nights he chose to stay in rather than venture out. His approach to inquiring about my day demonstrated genuine attentiveness. He playfully teased me with a gentle touch, almost flirtatiously, whenever I donned something new or styled my hair. Not long ago, I found myself recalling an evening from just a few weeks past. It rained throughout the day, and we found ourselves playing cards on the living room floor, reminiscent of the times when he was a child. I donned a pair of leggings paired with one of his vintage sweatshirts. At a certain moment, after winning a hand and laughing with triumph, he remained seated, gazing at me with a contemplative expression. "You appear truly joyful when you smile in that way," he remarked. At that time, I didn't give it much consideration. In the stillness of my bedroom, I found myself contemplating whether I had overlooked a nuance in his tone, a subtlety that I was only beginning to perceive. The following day, I endeavored to dispel the lingering thoughts. I tidied the kitchen, responded to several emails, and took a stroll to the park to refresh my mind. Upon my arrival home, I found him there, barefoot on the couch, headphones draped around his neck, engrossed in his phone. "Greetings, Mother," he remarked with that same effortless demeanor. "Greetings," I responded, placing my bag on the ground. "I prepared some tea for you." He added, without looking up, that he had left it on the counter. That was Luke, consistently considerate in subtle ways. He recalled my preference for tea with honey instead of sugar. I have a preference for ceramic mugs rather than travel cups. I enjoyed the soft sounds of jazz while seated in the den. It transcended mere affection. It was a tension that surpassed the ordinary and delved into the realm of intention. That evening, we viewed a movie I hadn't experienced in quite some time, a classic romantic drama I referenced briefly. He took the time to research and stream it specifically for me. We settled next to each other on the couch, a cozy blanket draped over our legs. In a moment, charged with emotion, I sensed his hand lightly graze against mine. I remained close, and so did he. We remained in that position until the credits concluded. The room was shrouded in dimness, illuminated only by the soft glow of the screen. As he turned to face me, his gaze delved into mine, not with youthful playfulness, but with a profound intensity. Have you ever sensed that individuals cease to truly notice you after reaching a particular age? He inquired, my breath caught in my throat. I mentioned softly, time and again, they believe you have already reached your peak, unseen. He nodded and then spoke in a whisper so faint that I nearly missed it. I acknowledge you, Mom. Everyone here. I was at a loss for words. My throat constricted. The silence that enveloped us lingered, yet it remained devoid of discomfort. It was laden with comprehension, sentiment, and uncertainty. As I rose to make my way to bed, he extended his hand softly, his fingers grazing my arm. "Good night," he said. His voice conveyed an unexpressed sentiment. "Good night, Luke," I remarked. While my voice remained composed, internally I was far from calm. I remained awake for hours, gazing at the shadows cast upon the ceiling, replaying his words repeatedly in my mind. I acknowledge your presence. I was uncertain about our destination. I was uncertain whether to feel fear or to embrace the thrill of uncovering something profoundly human and unforeseen. However, I was certain of one thing: nothing between us will ever be the same again. The following morning, I arose earlier than my typical routine. The house was serene, with only the subtle hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock resonating in the kitchen as I poured myself a cup of coffee. I required a method to organize my thoughts. A peculiar noise resides within silence, particularly following a night filled with emotions that elude precise identification. I reflected on our conversation, recalling the way Luke had gazed at me with an unfamiliar softness, not in the way a son gazes at his mother, but rather as a man who perceives something deeper, something intricate. I attempted to dismiss it as merely a fleeting moment of tenderness, nothing beyond that. Ultimately, Luke had consistently displayed affection, even in his early childhood. He exhibited a level of thoughtfulness that was uncommon among other young men of his age. Perhaps he was simply navigating a challenging period. Perhaps I was engaging in excessive contemplation. However, it did not seem that way. Not quite. At approximately 10 o'clock, I heard his footsteps ascending the stairs. As I lifted my gaze from my coffee, I caught sight of him entering the kitchen, shirtless, with a towel draped over his shoulders and damp hair tousled from a recent shower. "Good morning," he said, a sleepy smile gracing his face. "Good morning," I responded, making an effort to sound relaxed. He approached the coffee pot, filled his cup, and then leaned against the counter to savor a sip. I observed the manner in which he gazed at me deliberately, as if he were absorbing every detail. "You look truly beautiful in the morning light," he remarked. I paused for a brief moment, then swiftly tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. It's advisable to reserve remarks like that for individuals within your age group. He expressed that he is not interested in girls his age. He spoke in a soft, straightforward manner. I gazed at him then, truly gazed. His expression held no hint of teasing, no trace of sarcasm, and no laughter poised to emerge. For the first time in many years, I experienced a stirring within me that I had long buried, an ache for attention, intimacy, and the desire to be seen. I refrained from making any comments. I returned to the sink and began rinsing out my cup, making an effort to steady my trembling hands. "Mother," I took a moment to pause. "I have no intention of causing you any discomfort. I believe it is important for you to hear this. Your beauty radiates from within, transcending mere appearances." I pivoted, using a towel to dry my hands. "Luke, I find myself at a loss for words." He approached, maintaining a careful distance. He maintained a respectful distance, yet an undeniable energy and awareness lingered in the air, a shift that had not existed previously. "No need for words. I wanted to bring this to your attention." He exited the kitchen, ascending the stairs as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. I remained in place for an extended period, observing the steam ascend from the sink. The remainder of the day unfolded in a state of emotional fog. I organized the linen closet and sifted through several old photo albums, finding tasks to occupy my hands while my mind raced. That evening, while I was tidying up a drawer in the hallway, I stumbled upon an old birthday card that Luke had given me when he was just 15. "You are truly the most remarkable woman I have ever encountered." Even in those times, his words consistently held significant weight. Later that evening, we found ourselves watching television once more. It was a classic sitcom we both enjoyed, the type where the humor was gentle and innocent, and laughter filled the pauses of unspoken thoughts. We positioned ourselves at opposite ends of the couch, yet our feet managed to intertwine beneath the blanket. It was pure, inviting, soothing. A serene pause unfolded amidst the commercial break. The room was softly illuminated by the glow of the television as our laughter gradually subsided. He gazed at me once more, this time with a deliberate slowness, as if he were meticulously examining every facet of my being. It's not merely my face or my expression. It encompasses all the unvoiced emotions I have concealed for years. "I wish I could take you out," he expressed. I arched an eyebrow. "Kindly escort me outside." Indeed, as one would experience on an authentic date, an exquisite dinner, fine wine, enchanting music, an experience that is truly special, one that you absolutely deserve. I gazed at him intently. I parted my lips, yet no words emerged. My heart pounded audibly within my chest. "You deserve to feel like a woman again," he said gently. "More than a mother, a woman." My breath was momentarily suspended. It had been years since anyone had expressed that to me. Not since prior to his father's departure. Not since the extended solitary nights devoted to caring for others while neglecting my own needs. Suddenly, the tears flowed. I was unprepared for them. They gathered unbidden and flowed softly down my cheeks. He observed the situation, yet remained calm. He took his time to address the issue. He moved in closer, softly grasping my hand in his. "Apologies," he murmured, his thumb gently gliding over mine. "I apologize if I caused any distress." "I did not," I whispered. "No one has regarded me in that manner for quite some time." A prolonged silence enveloped the atmosphere. However, it was not burdensome. It was filled with elements we were both starting to comprehend. "Then allow me," he stated at last. "Allow me to be the one who truly perceives you." I chose not to respond. I also did not withdraw my hand. The clock advanced beyond the stroke of midnight. The wind whispered through the trees outside. Within, a delicate yet tangible essence was starting to reveal itself. It was not a matter of crossing boundaries. It transcended mere labels. It centered on two individuals, two spirits, acknowledging one another in a realm where solitude had lingered for far too long. I was uncertain of the destination it would take me to. In that moment, I realized I was no longer invisible. For the first time in years, I experienced a profound sense of vitality. The subsequent days unfolded with a subtle emotional undercurrent permeating all that transpired. Discreet, yet consistently noticeable, Luke and I established a rhythm that felt remarkably natural, even as I continued to question it in the silence of my mind. Our dialogues extended, and our pauses grew in significance. I began to realize the extent of my anticipation for his entrance into the room. My heart raced at the sound of his footsteps ascending the stairs. I observed the way he gazed at me, as if I held significance, as if I were a person deserving of admiration. On a Sunday afternoon, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. In the garden, I meticulously trimmed the roses that had flourished beyond my initial expectations. The sun warmed my skin, while a gentle breeze wafted the fragrances of grass and lilacs through the air. I donned one of my summer dresses, effortlessly elegant, featuring delicate floral patterns, slender straps, and a relaxed waistline. It was one of the select pieces I retained for those moments when I desired to embrace my femininity, transcending the roles of mother or housekeeper. As Luke stepped outside, 2 glasses of iced lemonade in hand, a smile spread across my face at the sight of him. He wore shorts and a fitted t-shirt with glasses resting on his head, his bare feet touching the grass. "You're truly transforming this space," he remarked, offering me a glass. "Indeed, it falls to someone," I playfully remarked, taking a sip. He chuckled softly and settled on the patio's edge, observing me in quiet contemplation for a moment, a silence that conveyed more than mere words ever could. He began his journey. His voice has grown softer now. "In my youth, I often pondered why Father did not treat you with the respect and care you truly deserved. I noticed it even at that time. Your contributions were immense. You continue to do so." I gazed down at the rose bush I was tending, blinking. His words struck me more profoundly than I had anticipated. "I once believed that perhaps he simply overlooked you. However, I believe he did. He simply couldn't figure out how to handle someone of your caliber." Luke. I initiated the dialogue, uncertain of the direction it would take. He continued, clarifying that he wasn't trying to create an awkward situation. "I express this sentiment because I have observed you closely, and I have never encountered anyone as graceful and quietly strong as you." I was uncertain about how to reply. I placed the glass on the table and took a seat beside him. The grass gently caressed my cows, while the sunlight enveloped my back in warmth. "Do you have any idea how many women I've dated?" he asked, "and how few of them truly listened or cared?" He shifted his gaze in my direction. "Your gaze suggests that I hold significance, that I possess value. Effort may be lacking, yet it remains present." I gradually turned to face him. "Your significance is undeniable. You have consistently demonstrated this." His expression became gentler. "Allow me to demonstrate that your significance is equally important." We refrained from any physical contact, not at that time. Yet I sensed it, an unseen force drawing us together, more profound than any tangible connection. His gaze lingered on mine, probing, as if anticipating my consent. Later that evening, as I prepared dinner, he entered the kitchen, leaned against the counter, and observed me in silence. It was not uncomfortable. It was there, deeply personal in a manner that transcended mere physical contact. "Do you recall the times from my childhood," he said, "when I would climb into your bed after having nightmares?" I smiled as I stirred the pot on the stove. "Absolutely, I do. You consistently brought your blanket, and you insisted on sleeping on my left side, never on the right." He let out a soft chuckle. I recall experiencing a profound sense of security, utterly secure. I halted, placing the spoon aside. He remarked that he believes this is what he has been pursuing all these years, the sensation. I have yet to encounter it once more. Up to this point, my chest constricted. I turned to him with deliberate slowness. "Luke, this is intricate." "Indeed," he remarked. "However, complexity does not equate to error. It simply indicates that we must exercise caution." Truthful. I gazed at my hands, sensing their warmth from the stove, yet also the heat surging within me from a more profound source. We shared dinner at the table, maintaining a comfortable silence for the majority of the meal, yet it felt anything but awkward. The silence enveloped us, a shared moment of contemplation as we both grappled with the profound emotions and uncertainties unfolding in our connection. Following dinner, I found myself positioned before my closet, uncertain of the reason why. I retrieved a blouse that had remained untouched for years. Luxurious silk, rich burgundy hue, elegantly low neckline. It was not for tasks or obligations or conforming. It was intended for visibility. I made some adjustments, styled my hair slightly, and descended the stairs. Luke sat on the couch, perusing his phone. Upon raising his gaze, he became motionless. His lips parted ever so slightly, yet no words escaped them. His eyes conveyed it all. "You wore that once for Dad's birthday dinner," he said softly. "I recall." I acknowledged with a nod. "It has been suspended there for some time." He rose gradually, approached and halted mere inches away. "You look absolutely breathtaking," he remarked. I took a deep breath. Not since the time before life began to erode the aspects of me that once felt complete. In that instant, my mind was free from titles, rules, and judgments. I have been contemplating the concept of connection, existence, the intrinsic human desire for recognition and affection, not merely in terms of a role, but as an individual. A transformation stirred within me, something both gentle and fearsome, yet profoundly sincere. We did not share a kiss. We did not make contact again. As I ascended the stairs to my bedroom, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and failed to recognize a mother in my reflection. A woman caught my eye, exposed, exquisite, emerging. I came to understand that what was developing between us transcended mere longing. The focus was on rediscovery. The following morning, the sky was shrouded in clouds, and an unusual stillness enveloped the house. As I stood at the kitchen sink, coffee in hand, I gazed out the window, watching the initial drops of rain gently tap against the glass. A soft, steady rhythm enveloped me, gentle and soothing, as if the world had momentarily decelerated to grant me a breath of respite. I required that tranquility. In the wake of the gradual unraveling between Luke and me, my heart was a complex mix of fullness and weight, as if I were bearing something delicate that I struggled to grasp. He delayed his descent downstairs. I interpreted that as an indication that he was allowing me some space, for which I was grateful. I had to navigate through the complexities of my emotions: warmth, uncertainty, remorse, gentleness, and an unspoken depth I had yet to acknowledge. I was not naive. I was aware of its appearance. I understood how it would resonate with others. Yet, what remained unseen by others, what only I could truly sense, was the deep emotional bond we inadvertently discovered. It was not an act of recklessness. It was a well-considered decision. The experience was characterized by a gradual pace, a serene atmosphere, and a profound sense of reciprocity. At approximately mid-morning, I detected the gentle creak of the floorboards and turned to observe him entering, well-dressed, clean-shaven, and holding a neatly folded blanket under one arm. He suggested that perhaps we could watch something together, merely unite as one. His voice exuded a sense of calmness, free of tension, no pressure at all, merely an invitation. I acknowledged with a nod, understood. We ultimately decided to view a documentary, a contemplative and measured approach. We positioned ourselves closely, initially refraining from contact, yet as our shoulders grazed, our hands gently met beneath the blanket. In that moment, our fingers intertwined seamlessly. It lacked intensity and fervor. It was gentle, unvoiced, and intentional. I turned my head to gaze at him. He glanced over his shoulder, and in his gaze I perceived it all: esteem, appreciation, yearning. My chest constricted with a surge of emotion. "Luke, have you ever contemplated the significance of this?" He whispered constantly. "However, it does not seem incorrect. Not for me." A lengthy silence ensued before I finally uttered a word. "I don't find it to be incorrect either. It simply frightens me. It is not due to your influence. I find it difficult to have faith in the world's understanding." "I have no concern for the world," he stated. "Your well-being is important to me." Those words resonated profoundly. The burden of years spent unseen in my womanhood, muted by obligation. Amidst the sacrifices, my needs remained concealed. Everything appeared to ascend and gradually fade away in his presence. We chose not to continue watching the remainder of the film. I faced him completely, and for an extended moment, we simply gazed at one another. Not in the capacity of mother and son, not in the manner of individuals fulfilling expected roles, yet as two individuals who discovered something genuine in the most unforeseen circumstances. As he leaned in, the movement was deliberate and measured. It was not a choice. It felt as though we both reached the same destination simultaneously, traversing a journey marked by subtle exchanges, midnight conversations, and gentle pauses. Our lips met softly, gently. A question lingers with each breath taken. It was not hurried. It did not exhibit hunger. It was filled with deep respect. As we withdrew, I sensed a tear tracing its way down my cheek. "Are you feeling all right?" he inquired, gently sweeping it aside with his thumb. "I am uncertain," I murmured. "However, I am not inclined to revert to the facade of normalcy. I am unable to do that." "In that case, we shall not," he stated. "Whatever this may be, we shall honor it, with great attention to detail. In a confidential manner. However, we will not overlook it." He truly meant it. We passed the remainder of that day in the tranquility of the home, positioned next to each other, exchanging quiet words when necessary, and embracing silence when it felt right. That evening, I found myself poised in the threshold of his room, filled with uncertainty. He glanced up from the book he was engrossed in and offered a warm, steady smile. He remained still, offering no pressure or advance toward me. He created an inviting space beside him on the bed. I entered and took a seat. We discussed memories, his upbringing, my life prior to him, the earthiness we had both come to embrace as if it were a second skin. We reclined next to each other, fully attired, our hands softly intertwined. The focus was not on the physical aspect, not at this time. It revolved around intimacy, veracity. We drifted off to sleep in that familiar manner, reminiscent of the times long past when he sought comfort from the fear of thunder. At this moment, the storm resided within. It resided within us. We no longer felt fear. As I awoke to the gentle embrace of the early morning light, a sense of tranquility enveloped me. Fearful indeed, yet feeling more vibrant than I have in years. I quietly exited his room and entered my own, washed my face, and gazed at my reflection. I observed an individual who had encountered errors, experienced love and loss, yet ultimately reclaimed her value. I am uncertain about what unfolds next. Perhaps in the future, we will narrate the tale using more considerate language. Perhaps we shall keep it to ourselves entirely. However, I am aware of this. In a fleeting moment of my existence, I was acknowledged, valued, and adored, not due to the person I was expected to become, but rather because of the person I truly was. If this narrative resonated with you, we invite you to share your reflections in the comments section. We would love to know, which city are you tuning in from? We would be eager to hear your thoughts.